just a real symbiotic relationship. So coming into Organized for Health, tell me like what does that mean to you and why is it Organized for Health, Rebekah?
Right. Okay. So I have, I think bringing in the social work aspect and just my own personality and history, I've always been interested in helping others and making people feel good. Right. And I like to feel good and I pay attention to what makes me feel good and not, and that kind of thing. I think it's interesting. And so when I was trying to kind of hash that out and figure out what I wanted my business to look like, it all came naturally flowing together. And so Organized for Health, the entire basis of it is centered around the belief that getting organized is good for your overall physical and mental health, and being organized is a catalyst for healthier living. So when most people think of wellness, they think exercise, nutrition, sleep, those are the areas they think of. But I do argue that being organized is also part of the wellness equation because it's something that you do for yourself that enhances the quality of your life in different ways for different people. But more importantly, studies show that when you're more organized, you're more likely to exercise, eat well, and sleep well. And so organizing is really a basic component to wellness and just the foundation of wellness. And there have been lots of studies on taking organizing and looking at the health benefits and just life improvements. And you can think of some of like the really obvious ones would be eliminating dust and mold, tripping hazards, fire hazards, those kind of things. Exercise, nutrition, sleep, maybe not everybody thinks of those, but those have been documented. And then you've got weight loss, less stress, less anxiety, less depression just from organizing, more productive, focused, higher self-esteem, feeling of success and confidence, stronger decision-making skills, less family stress, stronger relationships, a sense of control, a sense of freedom, more money, more time to do what you want to do, that feeling lighter, clearer mind, overall higher contentment level. And so when you start making healthy changes, it increases all of those other benefits. And so the positivity feeds on more positivity. And then when you're happier, you're nicer to those around you, they're nicer to them, and so on and so on. So I just love this ripple effect. It's like that smile project, you know, it's the positivity of it all. And it all starts with organizing. And I just think that basically organizing is like this mood boost, and it just has far reaching benefits in your life.
That's awesome. I've got some photos I wanted to jump in and share in just a second. But when you were talking about, you know, organizing so that you can get more healthy and start working out and playing and enjoying things for more of the mental piece, you know, it's like whenever I cleaned my kids' rooms, just, you know, you had to just come in and do it. And they would play for hours. I used to ask my son to go find a toy. I knew he would not leave the room for 3 hours once he saw everything was like a clean slate. So that is so true. And your pictures reminded me of doing that for my son, because I saw that bedroom. So I want to share a picture, but before I jump into the pictures, these are some of the ahas that I learned, Rebekah, from you with some of the families that I call it the heartstring stories, like, and Joya and Leah on my team. I'm not sure if they're on this Zoom, but they just loved hearing these. So you mentioned that there was one family they were finally able to sit at the dinner table together and have dinner at the dinner table. I mean, that, and another one, 40 years of stuff from a couple. They had a mood change every time they walked in their house now, like 40 years in the house, and the mood is now different. And then you said there was some sentimental possessions that were repurposed, and you know, that just reminded me of, you know, how satisfying that is to have something and you can repurpose it. And just gave, actually, I didn't realize sentimental possessions were that kind of captivating, but I thought those were great pieces that we can expand on. Okay, so let me jump into some photos real quick, and feel free to talk over these. I'm going to jump into my photos, which can be kind of scary. Hold on. Let's see. I'm going to open my photos, and here we go. Yay. Okay. All right, great. So I think I cut off from the email, Rebekah, like the title of these photos.
Okay.
But
yes.
Mhm.
This is a storage area, and one of the number one tips in a storage area, and you can see it right here, is you got to use that vertical space. So get some shelving and get some clear bins and put labels on them. And I like these labels. They're changeable. So they stick on and they can hold up in the Georgia heat, and you can, as the contents change, as your life changes, and that's a whole different Zoom call, you can change that. It's just a little index card, and you can change out the what's inside of it, the label.
I like the index card. Great tip. That's a great tip. Oh, this was great because I didn't realize you are hired by people to organize their decorations.
Yes, people love this. So we do, it's, just like seasonal. And so Beth, this is Beth, and she's actually, so Beth is a dedicated organizer to Organized for Health. So she only works on my projects, and she is so creative and really good and has a great eye for decorating. And so I definitely lean on her for this. And so we offer this to our clients, and we'll just make it look however they want it to look. And we organize as we go. And then, my jam is the organizing, the aftermath is what I call it. And so, think Christmas, just taking all of that down and putting it away. And one of my mantras is your future self will thank you. And so if you put it away in such a way that when you go to decorate the next year, it's just a cinch, that's what we do.
That's great. I need to step it up for my autumn decorating. This is great.
Day in the life. This is just to show you. I mean, we roll our sleeves up and get in there, and we do just such a variety of different things. It's not just, Marie Kondoing something. It's, we're drilling and assembling, putting things together and just getting it done.
Yeah. And I'm going to expand on some of these other, the donating, the product purchase, questions I have for you. This is a great one.
Yes, this is just a bedroom that we got in there and found a home for everything and little systems so that she can keep it this way. Yep. Teenager closets. So you can see that we work within the space too. And a big thing for me is progress, not perfection. I mean, you're living in these spaces. So we can make things Pinterest perfect, but I'm really into function. And so this is, highly functional, and we put the baskets in to make it pretty too, but this is a functional space. Yeah,
the baskets I think is key in that picture.
Garage. Okay. Yep. Similar to the storage. Yep. And we just made it, we zoned it out. You put the things that you're going to pull that are the same together and just kind of make zones and garage.
And that looks like less stuff, but it's the same stuff. They couldn't park in there.
Could not park in there. And this was actually like a mid picture. It was, I always forget my pictures. So this was mid. It was actually more full than that even. Yeah.
Oh, this is a junk drawer.
Junk drawer. Yes. So you can see this is like one of the things, for me, a top thing in the kitchen is using dividers. Any kind of divider you can, because you can see how hard it is to find what you need on the left. But on the right, you just put some dividers in, and it makes it so much easier to know what you have.
Perfect. I love the cat.
So this is like our ultimate. Another mantra is create space for what matters. I say it all the time because that is like just a tenet of Organized for Health. And this is an actual closet. So it was waist high. She couldn't get into the left or the right to get her clothes or anything. And look at the space she made for her kitty. That's what matters. Yeah.
That is typical for a cat. Like they'll find the most beautiful little spot and hang it. Perfect.
Yes. Oh, and this was like a homework room, craft room, that kind of thing. And you can see they just couldn't find anything. And so they had in the room, I love putting bookshelves. Again, that vertical space, I love putting bookshelves in a closet like that. And we were just really able to maximize their space for them.
I love all those cans on the shelf. What a great idea, because they look fun and look like coffee cans.
Yeah, they are. And their kids were able to put, like the washi tape or the fun duct tape and just have fun with it. Yeah.
Wow, super cool. Oh, okay. Well, this is a picture of our team. Yeah, there we are. And then there's our mission, building wealth through real estate. Okay, cool. Let's get back to questions. So I've got some questions that I want to ask. Let's see, stop sharing my screen. Okay, so let me, because these I really just learned from you. Sorry, I had to stop my screencast. Okay, so how initially, Rebekah, when you go in, how do you assess a project for someone if they're like needing you? How do you assess a project?
Typically, this is done over the phone. I would say 95% of my projects, we just spend about a half an hour over the phone and we talk about what the problem is, because they're calling me for an issue. So, and one of the most common questions is really, or statements is, I don't know where to start. Where do I start? It's that analysis paralysis, and it's overwhelming. And if they've been doing that for years and not starting for years, you can imagine, it just gets worse and worse. And so I just, there's the greatest trick of organizing is that there's no wrong place to start. There's just not. But I just say, what's the biggest stressor? And logically, we would start there. And we talk about my services. We talk about a simple plan of attack. And most of the time, they're like, oh my gosh, I feel better. We haven't even begun work. I feel so much better. It's like having somebody on your side, having somebody understand.
Yeah, you said just their mind dump gave them a boost. Like it just got it out of their brain. That was fun. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so time and labor for your project. I mean, like not just you, but what does an organizer typically? What do you expect from an organizer with?
There is what I've learned the last few years is there really is no set time frame, because everybody, if you think about it, my favorite thing about organizing, it's both universal and unique at the same time. And I had given you the basic steps to organizing. Universal, no matter what you're organizing, this is the process, right? But it's unique. Every job is unique because people are unique. Their stuff is unique. The space is unique. The situations and the circumstances and everything is different. And so there is no, it's going to, take this long, because it could take them a really long time to make decisions. You open, you get further into a project and you're like, oh, wow, there's more coming, or they want it really intricately organized instead of macro. They want micro, and it changes. And so just depends on what you're doing. If you're doing a junk drawer, yeah, it's going to take an hour. If you're doing an entire house, I have worked with families. Going on my 7th year with them. Like it's just and we get into maintenance mode and that kind of thing. So it's the gamut.
Well, so that's so funny. You were saying it can get very intricate. So typically when we see a home before we sell it, sometimes the nicest homes are the ones that want more of the updating, because that's kind of their jam, right? So I can imagine some people are already organized and they just want to take it even, further into maybe more areas that they didn't think about, to maximize whatever their blind spot is. Because
that happens all the time. So it's people who really need that, really high level, like true organizing. And then other people who are like, I know this can be better. And let me get your brain in here and see like, what else could I do to make this even better? And then you have people who are going through those life transitions where it's just an interim thing, and it happens to all of us, and it has manifested in their surroundings. So you have kind of, those are the situations that happen.
And so do organizers charge per hour, per project? What typically?
Most do per hour for the reasons that I said. So we're really efficient and fast and our brains just go, go, go. But there are limitations to the progress in a project. And so it's just better to charge per hour.
So I loved when I learned how much you're involved with the families and the kids. So you're meeting with kids too in their spaces?
Sure. Yes. I mean, they all live there, right? And there are things that kids can do. And we try to make it age appropriate, of course, but you can make it fun too. So.
So, and then talk to me about and share what you shared with me to everyone about sometimes you go once a week or once a month, like you're on someone's calendar. You said 7 years with someone, so that's a once a month, once a week, just kind of maintenance.
Yes, and it can be, I mean, it can be anything. So it can be, these very intense, 3-4 month projects where you're hitting it hard. There's a lot of work to be done. And then they call you, I don't know, once or twice a year, just to do a little refresh or seasonally, that kind of thing. And then I've got clients who the progression of our relationship, they would rather us do the maintenance, say before the cleaners come. They want the organizer to come in and just kind of get everything put away and that kind of thing. And so it makes sense to them. And that would be once or twice a month. Some people, everybody's different. Like I said, the uniqueness is fun. Some people are not going to they don't want to do their mail, say. And so they'll let it pile up. You come in, you just make sure that, because paper is a hard thing for households to wrangle. And so that would be another example. And then again, even progressing further over the years, some clients I've even gone into more of a personal assistant role, in that they will say, you're coming over, can you do these errands for me? Bring it over, or take these when you go. Or I'm doing a little bit of bookkeeping for a client. And so I'm helping her with her home business, just get all of that organized. I'm doing her billing for her clients, and I'm doing, and that is every week. So it's it can morph into, it's just out of the box thinking as far as what an organizer can do for you.
Yeah. And you mentioned a lot of it is like just taking it to the donation, just, getting it shredded out of here, the piles, just physically getting it away from here.
Yes, that is a huge thing I've noticed. So what we offer is if we can fit it in our car at the end of a session, a lot of times I can't see out the back, and I just go into the donation center and I get the receipt and I scan the receipt, send it to them, and it's done. And that is so huge for people. And we're so happy to do that,
Wow. Okay. That is awesome. Okay, perfect. So let me make sure. So your work, so Beth is your right hand. I mean, when you say we go in and we get a project, we might see someone to tackle a big project. What's like a big project that you would be really intense with?
Okay, I will give you an example of that. So yes, I'm very lucky to have Beth in this capacity, and we're always looking to grow. So I'm looking for other Beths too. But I love having her with me. So either we go separately, or we go together, or I have a pool of other organizers that I can pull from when we need extra hands. And so it just depends on what we're doing that day as to how many organizers need to be there. And we worked with a family. It's typically when I do senior moves, it's the adult children who contact me. And so the adult daughters contacted me, and we ended up moving their parents from a 5,000 square foot home of 50 years that really had never been decluttered. It was a massive undertaking, and we got to know the family just so well. We became a team, all of us. It was so great. And the common goal, is moving mom and dad painlessly through this major life transition. But what we ended up doing was we moved mom and dad to senior living. That didn't work out. Moved them to 2 separate senior livings, moved dad again. None of that worked out. Moved them back together. Now they're happily living together. It all is well. But through that, we really got to know them, and we got to know what they like and didn't like. And the whole process is just to make it familiar, when they're moving into these senior living communities. And we were able to really understand, and very efficiently move them. And the girls were like, literally, we could not have done this without you, because we were able to do it.
So I'm looking at my sentimental clutter note, because that was a big one with the, families, and they keep stuff. So sentimental clutter, what's your kind of mantra, your hack with sentimental? Because apparently I've learned that's a huge issue. And now when I have kids, I have a sentimental kid, and then I have a non-sentimental kid, and one sentimental kid is like, oh, I don't want to, anything should be kept. So how do you handle sentimental clutter?
Well, so just like anything in life, and this is again another Organized for Health mantra, is you're striving for balance. You really are. And you see people all here. So we just want to be kind of here, right? And it's not perfection. Another mantra, progress, not perfection. So nothing's perfect. But I like to save the sentimental clutter for last. So if you're doing, kind of a massive project, I really like to save it to the end, because you might make room to be able to keep a lot of the sentimental things that you just thought you didn't have room for before. And if they really mean something to you, you should keep them and look at them every day. And, if they bring you joy. And also, you could find a different use for them. Like, we love repurposing. And you talked about that earlier. It's just, you can use them in a different way, or change them to be something that they weren't. And it's kind of endless, the ideas. And once you're going through those steps of organizing, you're building skills and confidence and motivation and stamina. Like, if you don't know how to organize, and you're getting good at it. And by the time you hit the emotional clutter, you have some of those skills and that motivation to kind of keep going. And I think that a lot of times people hit the emotional clutter, they kind of stop. Their brain just kind of, it's hard, and they take the easy path. They don't want to think that through to the end. They don't want to go through the pain and the emotions to kind of get to the other side. And that's what having an organizer there can help you, because we sit with them through those emotions. And then when we walk them through that and we get to the end, we can make logical decisions. And you really don't want to make emotional decisions. You want to make logical decisions. And then we can always remind them of those logical decisions. And I think it's just, if you're gearing up to tackle that sentimental clutter, I think that you need to set yourself up for success. Like, you can have a professional organizer, you can have a therapist, you can have a significant other there with you. You could schedule like a massage, or your favorite meal, or like a Zoom with your best friend, or something like that, just to kind of give you something to look forward to, or help you through, or, just take care of yourself a little through that, because it is hard.
I love talking to my mom when I empty the dishwasher. I hate to do that, but talking to her makes me forget I ever did it. It's just like, blah, blah, blah. It just happens. So that's
right.
That's a great. Okay, so and I remember when you were saying that, I remember selling a house in Eagle Watch. I think it was in Kennesaw, and the gentleman had lost his wife, and it took us almost a year to put it on the market, because he had to go through just a few boxes in the basement from her. And it just took so long, and it was super hard. So I wanted to back up, and before I do, our favorite part on our team was when we went through some rapid questions with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Rapid fire. Oh my gosh, I love that part. So we're going to get to the rapid fire, and then I do want to open it for questions, because everybody has their little, personal questions that they may be dealing with. Okay, so you mentioned papers, are a big issue with families, and just the paper is a whole nother project, you said. So I've been seeing a lot of command, zones and things like that. So one team member on my team was like really intrigued with you were so organized, by the way, just giving us your list of how your process. And you mentioned on this about, developing a system for maintenance. So what kind of system that would change a behavior for mail, like just for example?
So for that, the number one thing is you have to be careful about what you let in. You just have to be careful about the paper, like physically let inside your house. So I think that if you're going to be brutal anywhere, it's with paper. And if you think about it, so say you have 100 sheets of paper. Think about 100 objects. So you can fit so much paper into the same amount that you can fit objects, that a lot of people, when the objects start getting big, that's when you're like, oh, I got to do something about that. But the paper, you're like, oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And so it's really better just to get it done. And so if you don't let it in the house, that cuts down on so much there. So I suggest that either right outside the door or right inside the door, you bring your paper, you bring your kids' schoolwork, or anything from work that you have, or whatever paper is coming in, stop right there and just take 5 minutes and say trash, shred, file later, recycle, whatever it is. Just have that little system right there to take care of 75% of it. And then it's much, much easier, but you have to do it every day or every time you get the mail, or maybe every other day. But it's one of those things that requires that maintenance, and just a simple little system like that. And even right there, you can have a command center, so that what do you do with the stuff you want to keep? Well, just, have it there. And when that gets full, you actually have to do something with it. But it can just, that would be an example of a simple system to put into place. And the rule of, if you can do it in 2 minutes, don't delay that decision. Don't delay that act. Just do it. Just do it, 2 minutes, and it really helps you stay on top of the clutter. It's a good rule. I like that one.
Cool. So yeah. Wow. Okay, cool. Okay, so some rapid fire questions. I wanted to not questions, but just go through with spaces of the house. Okay. I'm going to name a space in the house and tell me like your biggest hack in that space. Okay.
Okay.
Feel free to maybe say 2 if you really need to. Okay. First one, office.
Well, we just talked about 2 of the strategies, which would be, having a simple system and a command center, and then also making that decision. But also I would say strive for paperless. So we all know of like the bill pay. That is really important, because all of the bills that pile up as far as paper goes, but also scanning. And so you can scan, there's so many apps and so many ways to organize, after you scan, but there's not a lot of papers that you actually need to keep. There are some that you need, but there's so many that you could just scan, file, and go. And that includes kids' paper too, and being selective. We all love their little projects and their, the things that come home from school, but just, you can be selective about what you scan and toss and scan and keep and that kind of thing.
Wow. So there's a scan toss and scan keep category.
And again, your future self will thank you, because when it is time to go through your house and your adult kids are like, what, it's already scanned. You can put it in a folder for them and be like, look, I scanned all these for you. So if you want to throw them away, they're still here for you. But yeah.
Okay. So do you have a scanning what, with a scanner?
I scan a lot of times. I scan with my phone. You just scan, and I pick a folder, and it goes right into the folder that I want it to go into.
Okay. And what app do you use for that?
Mine is on my Google Drive. So, but there are lots of apps that do just this for you. And I don't have a favorite one, but there are a lot.
Hand scanner is a good one, kid friendly.
Okay.
Okay. Closet.
My favorite thing in a closet is a donation basket. Just a basket in the corner in, the parents' closet, in the kids' closet, because they grow out of clothes so quickly. It's again, that don't delay that decision. So if you don't like it and you're not going to wear it, or you've grown out of it, or whatever it is, just throw it in the basket, throw it in the basket, throw it in the basket. And when that basket gets full, put it in your car, not in the trunk, put it somewhere where it's going to bother you, and then you will pull into a donation center and just donate it eventually. But that, I love that one. And then use felt hangers. I love felt hangers. It is a space saver. It's really a space saver. I like the uniformity, you know, if you like that look, and things don't fall off. I love them. And then the hanging backwards trick. I don't know if you know that one, but you can hang all your clothes backwards. And then if you haven't worn it in a year, you can tell. And then you just think real hard about those. And then the buy one, donate one. I live by that rule. I do that myself. So.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Okay, pantry.
Think vertically in the pantry. A lot of people don't think about like the back of the door or the walls going up, just to give yourself a little bit more space. And this is my favorite spot for risers, lazy Susans, and labeled baskets and bins. It really helps just to be able to reach things and see things and quickly go.
Oh, okay.
And throw away your expired food.
Oh, okay. So what's your little rule on that? No, well, obviously, if it's expired, throw it away. But what did you also say? Like, if you haven't used it in, if you haven't, oh gosh, that was something like, if you haven't used it once, you're never going to use it.
I mean, if a lot of people will say, oh, I'm going to make this meal, and so I'm going to buy these like, kind of unique ingredients, and then they never use it. And I think that if you are taking, yearly is a good way to go through your pantry. I think yearly is good. And you're going through and you're just like, there is no way. And it's not expired. You can donate that. People will use that, so I try to encourage people to just keep what you're really going to use in your house.
Awesome. Okay. Next one is kitchen.
Kitchen. Prioritize the high use items and spaces. Like, think prime real estate the whole time you're doing it. It's those really easy to reach places. That's where you want to put the stuff that you've used the most. And then we had talked about drawer dividers. That's really, really helpful in kitchens.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Drawer dividers, and you get those anywhere. I mean, no special ones.
Well, no, not really. And that's and again, I like to repurpose. So it's fun when I find things over the homes that I can stick in a drawer, and it works beautifully. I mean, it's like a Tetris thing in space planning, and in your head, and we can geek out over repurposing. It's really fun. But this actually speaks to product planning. And so another common question I get from people who are just calling me or emailing me, what do I buy before you come? And I'm like, nothing, because you really have to, if you think about it, you have to go through those steps in order to get to the place where you know what you need. And so you want to know, like, what am I keeping? Where am I going to keep it? What are the measurements of that space? What do I want it? Do I want it to look Pinterest? Do I care? Do I, like, all of those things go into planning what it is you're purchasing. So it really does take, I say, you don't pre-buy.
No. Okay. All right. Next one, garage.
I would say, well, I mean, I think we touched on this, good shelving. So you've got to think about that vertical, good shelving, and then those clear bins so you can see what it is, and then those labels too. And it really helps. Those larger labels can really help you just be able to quickly get your hands on things and then contain things, as needed.
And what was your hack again? Put them in a business card in a plastic thing so you can switch it out?
Yeah, you can get them on Amazon even, or Staples or anywhere. They have they have different sizes, but in the garage, I like to get those bigger ones. And it's like an index card that can go in and out and change it as you need it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, next one, bathroom.
Ditch what you don't use. That's a big one. Ditch what people have so much product and they don't even use it. So ditch what you don't use. And I would say definitely clear bins. And then underneath the sink, a lot of times people don't have any shelving, and you can create shelving in there. You can get different things, different pullouts to give yourself more room for those products. Mm-hmm. That's really helpful. That's what we do.
Right. Bedroom.
Oh, bedroom. In a bedroom, it's usually the closet that's the culprit, because everything kind of in the bedroom needs to go in the closet, and it can't go in the closet until that's taken care of. So typically it's that. But I would say just I like to once a day kind of go through and put everything back where it goes. Things get, you're living in your space and that kind of thing. But I would say once a week, maybe, just put everything back where it goes, because there's really not that much I see in bedrooms that can't be corralled.
Okay, here's best for last. You ready? Laundry.
Oh, laundry. I like to have, one thing that I like to do, and this kind of seems radical to people, but is the sheets. Sheets can be an issue. And if you put keeping sets together and that kind of thing, if you put the sheets in the room of the bed that it goes on, a bottom drawer, up in the closet, just somewhere in that room, I find that really helps. It's a system that you can use to not lose sheets. I know people lose socks all the time. That's a thing I see in a lot of homes, is the socks. And I would say that you really it's one of those delayed things. People want to delay the laundry. And I think that, you dry the laundry. Some people run it like 10 times because they don't want to fold it and put it away. But I think it's that delayed thing. You just have to do it, and have a laundry basket in each room for each person. And it makes it much more manageable.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, well, so we've been good 45 minutes of content. So thanks for doing that rapid fire. That was my team's favorite. So I added some extra. You could tell. We wanted more. Okay, so are there any questions from anyone that's on our Zoom that you may just have little hack questions about? And in the meantime, I do want Rebekah to let us know how to reach you, Rebekah, if we have questions or just want to run things past you, or we can't wait to have you help us. How can we find you?
So I do have a website. It's organizedforhealth.com, and you can feel free to call me anytime. It's 404-234-3917. And text is fine too. I get both of those. And then, of course, email, and it's Rebekah@organizedforhealth.com.
Okay. Awesome. Hey, anybody? We had a chat comment of somebody said they loved your progress, not perfection. That's a good one.
Yes, that to me is very important. I feel like perfection is just as bad as extreme clutter, because it's stifling. It takes away from the beauty of life. And I think that it's that balance, and you have to find your way into the middle. So we say that a lot.
That is huge. I mean, I wrote that down. Perfection is just as stifling as extreme clutter.
Right, because you can get focused on making things perfect, and it's no better than the other. Just being hyper focused on that, and you just need to relieve that pressure, either which way. And it's just, life is about balance, and organizing is no exception. You've got to have balance.
So what's a litmus test to where we know we're going a little too far here? Like how do we know we're like going a little too far?
If it stresses you out, if you can't keep up with it. That's why one of my tips is, see, this is the uniqueness of organizing. It looks different for me than it does for you. What I do might be way too much for somebody else, right? So people who have clutter, something that I think is cluttered, they don't have a problem with it. So don't call me. There's no problem, right? It doesn't bother them. So it only, like my husband and I always say, it only matters if you care. We say that about a lot of things. It only matters if you care, right? And if it's affecting your life. And if it's not a problem. So, I would just say, as far as perfection goes, I just think it's something that you have to, organizing in general, I think you have to be self-aware. So there's,
go ahead. Sorry.
Well, there's an amount of self-awareness that you have to even realize if it's affecting your life. right? So you have to do a little bit of that work in order to even know if this is something that could benefit you.
Which is why that comparison piece, that perfection thing is, it's not like when you go to Pinterest, you're like, if I'm at A, if I'm at A and I go to Pinterest, I'm looking at Z, like the end result. And if I'm trying to go from A to Z, that's like stress perfection. But you're saying if you can just get from like A to B, that's progress. And that just get me from A to B. Sometimes that Pinterest is where the stress is.
I agree. And I think that, we don't take it lightly, the work that we do with our clients. And so I think that some people can think, oh, organizer means that they're going to be type A and perfectionist, and they're going to judge me, and they're going to think that I'm a disaster and all of these things. And it's just so the opposite of what I'm trying to do here with this business. I'm really trying to get in there and help people and just meet them where they are, and maybe put a little order in their life and just see what that does for them. And it doesn't have to be massive, it could be little things, and then usually it snowballs on itself. But I think that it's such a fast-paced lifestyle that we lead, and we get lost in our thoughts and our busyness, and we don't take the time to really kind of take stock of how things are affecting us and that kind of thing. And so we really do care about our clients, and I think that we're patient and empathetic and caring. We have serving hearts. Like we believe that it's their project and their goals. It's not ours. So we're not rigid and judgy. It's what they want. We just try to make that happen.
Well, and when you said early in the Zoom about cleaning up for the housekeeper, yes. I mean, the housekeeper, clutter is worse than dirt for me. Like, I can go without a clean house. It's that clutter. So like, what if we didn't have the house cleaner and just had organizing on a bi-weekly basis? Like, oh my gosh, that would just be a life changer, right? For our family anyway.
Right. And a lot of times you can clean better yourself if the clutter isn't there. That's the point of cleaning for the cleaners, is what we say, but you organize for the cleaners so that they can clean better. But a lot of times, once it's organized, you're like, well, I can clean that pretty easily,
Yeah. I think getting someone in a habit of organizing is probably part of the challenge, getting them in that habit. Mm-hmm. When you see people weekly or bi-weekly, how long do you go over there, and are you there? It depends, I'm sure. It
does. We typically have a 4-hour session with people is usually what we do, our minimum. And I feel like it's a good amount of time to get something accomplished, that's noteworthy. But a lot of times people they're kind of tired by 4 hours. I mean, we can do it, all day long, and we have. I have a client now where I go for 6 to 8 hours at a time, and it's fine. They're fine. We're fine. We get a lot done. So it just depends. But typically it's about a 4-hour thing. And so there's always something to do in 4 hours. So
that's awesome. And your kids are grown. There's no little ones waiting for you at home when we are keeping you captive for 4 to 8 hours a day.
No, my youngest is 14, and she's pretty self-sufficient, and so
that's right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this has been amazing. I'm so glad that Julia and Leah did a recording of it right before we started. So we'll edit that little fun part out at the beginning and just share this for whoever can see value in it. So thank you so much, Rebekah.
Thank you.
Really quickly, if you have just another moment, there's a few questions in the chat box.
Oh, thanks. Oh, okay. So let's see. Oh, okay. Thanks. Okay. So how do you keep your clients motivated to stay organized, Rebekah?
Well, So that would be, I think it kind of takes on a life of its own, honestly, because the motivation happens when you start going. So it's like those other wellness areas I was talking about. Like once you start to see some results, that's the motivation, and it gets very exciting, and it just, all those health benefits come out, they emerge, and that really is the motivation. And of course, I love to organize. So I'm always like, let's do this. And here are a bunch of ideas. And this is what it could look like. And here's what we could do. And here's the plan. And we keep talking about those goals. So we always, and that's on the tip sheet. You have to keep your goals in mind the entire time. And an organizer can and should do that for you. And we just keep going back to, remember we said we want it to look like this, and we want it to feel like this. And that is pretty much how I do that.
Yeah, so keeping them looking ahead. Like you're that 30,000 foot view, and you're just keeping them like, let's look at the big picture here. Okay.
Yes. And you know, of course I have different hats, but that would be one of them is motivator. For sure.
Well, and it's like paying off credit card debt. Like they say, pay off it, you know, you wouldn't think you would not pay off your most expensive you know, a percentage credit card. If you've got a lot of credit card debt, you think, oh, pay off the most expensive one. It's actually just pay off the one with the least amount, so you can feel good and motivated that one's overdone and closed out and cut up.
Right.
And then that piece. So I love that, you know, that's a great point. The other last question, unless we had another one, was when you're moving someone to another space, to a smaller space, do you help or have someone you recommend in selling the furniture?
So selling, that is, I get that question a lot. Selling is a tricky thing. I personally do not typically take on selling for people because I do charge that hourly rate. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really make financial sense. I do help my clients though, you know, kind of my established clients from time to time want to sell this or that. And I don't mind helping them try to figure out the best way to do that. But selling it's kind of its own thing. Sometimes, you know, of course I know people who do estate sales, both online and in person. And Facebook Marketplace is good. You know, Craigslist is even good still. And, you know, it's just any combination of those things. And there's just no perfect solution. I wish there were for selling, but these days there's so many items. There's just so many items that the value has gone way down for those items. So even on Facebook Marketplace, it's almost like having a garage sale. They, you know, people want to give you a quarter for something that you paid a lot for. And that can be a hang up for people. That's a common hang up as far as parting with their things that they feel like have so much value because they paid so much for them 25 years ago and that kind of thing. And so we work through that with people, trying to find a good solution. But as far as the actual sale, I can help guide them, but I don't typically do that for people. Okay.
There is someone that I know that has been able to help like sell stuff. So let me type her phone number in here if anybody needs that. Okay. Her name is Terry Stevens. I know that she's been able to help people like tag, sell junk, sell expensive stuff. I mean, the selling piece is so encumbersome. So I can share her. And then I think one other question we had was along the same lines of paper in the office. Do you have tips on what to do with recipes? I feel like I have them everywhere, on paper, on computer, in the magazines.
Well, it depends on what kind of, you know, what kind of person you are. So some people like to have a binder. So like you just get your regular old binder and you put your, those plastic sheets in them where you can just print your recipe and stick them right in there. And you can just make it as simple as 2 sections. And that would be, here are the recipes I love and I've made, and here are the ones I want to try, that kind of thing. And then you can take it down from there and say, okay, this is dinner recipes, here's breakfast recipes, and you know, all the different ways you can do that. But you can also do the same thing right there on your computer. So you don't have to have that printed out version. You could just simply have a folder, and in that folder, that's how I do it. And I just save the recipes that I like, and I can go back to them on my phone while I'm cooking and just pull them right up.
Yeah, photos and scanning is just an aha. Then we all need cloud storage. Oh, more cloud storage. Awesome. Anybody else? Y'all, this has been so great. I've been taking a lot of notes. All right, Rebekah, thank you so much for your time. And so far it was quiet here. My dogs were quiet and I didn't hear anything over with your construction.
Yeah,
So.
not too bad.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, anything organizing, ask Rebekah. If you have questions about rate of return, value with homes, call us. We'd be happy to help you do a valuation on, selling, purchasing. So thanks again, Rebekah.
Thank you.
Guys,
Bye.
thanks for coming in. See ya.